You'd think slashing prices would light a fire under buyers, right? But in 2025, some motorcycles are sitting so long on showroom floors you'd swear they were part of the furniture. Even with deep discounts, zero down financing, and dealer incentives that scream, "Please just take it," no one wants them. Maybe the design didn't age well. Maybe the competition moved faster. Or maybe, just maybe, the hype never matched the ride. Whatever the reason, these are the bikes that dealers cannot move, no matter how low they go. We're talking showroom anchors, Craigslist regulars, bargain bin bruisers that were supposed to be hot and instead became cold cases. Here are 15 bikes in 2025 that are so unwanted, it's like they've got the plague. Some of them might surprise you, others you probably saw coming. Number 15. HarleyDavidson Livewire. You might think slapping the Harley badge on an electric motorcycle would instantly make it cool, revolutionary even, and when the Livewire first rolled out, that was the vibe. Sleek lines, futuristic tech, an electric motor that could do 0 to 60 in under 3.5 seconds. It looked like the perfect move to bring Harley into the modern era, but then the price tag showed up and really hit hard. At nearly $30,000 out the gate, the Livewire priced itself out of the market before it even got a foothold. Sure, it had solid range, premium components, and a very un-Harley-like quiet ride, but the people who wanted an electric motorcycle didn't want to spend luxury money on a brand known for roaring V-twins. And traditional Harley riders, they didn't want anything electric to begin with. Right now, the Livewire is basically the elephant in every Harley dealership. It's not that it's a bad bike, it's actually impressive on paper, but try telling that to someone who's deciding between a Tesla Model 3 and a motorcycle with limited charging options and questionable resale value. Dealers are slashing prices, offering incentives, throwing in gear, and still, Livewires collect dust. Harley even spun off Livewire into its own brand, but that hasn't done much to fix the identity crisis. It was bold, it was different, it was also completely out of touch with both Harley's core audience and the practical needs of the EV curious. And in 2025, that gamble is looking more and more like a write-off. If you're looking for information on any particular bike or just want to know more about the motorcycle world, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. It helps me keep putting out important information like this to keep you informed on the industry's best and worst bikes. Number 14. Ducati Street Fighter V4. If the Ducati Panigale is a caged animal, the Street Fighter V4 is what happens when someone unlocks the door and lets it roam the streets, naked, angry, and absurdly powerful. On paper, it's a dream. 208 horsepower, MotoGP DNA, and aggressive Italian styling that looks like it could slice your shin just by standing too close. But here's the catch. That dream isn't exactly practical, and it sure as hell isn't selling. Ducati built the Street Fighter V4 for riders who wanted race-like power without the fairings. But let's be honest, how many people out there actually need a naked bike that can hit 180 miles per hour? Most riders don't. Most can't. And the ones who can? They're not buying a bike that cooks their thighs in traffic or makes their neck sore after 45 minutes on the freeway. What's worse, the pricing never came down to earth. With a starting price north of 22 grand and premium trims climbing past 30 grand, the Street Fighter V4 lives in this weird space. Too extreme for casual riders, too naked for track days, and too expensive for most people who just want a fast, fun daily ride. And now, in 2025, dealers are overstocked and underwhelmed. They've got demo units no one wants, showroom bikes gathering fingerprints instead of mileage, and promos that still can't get people to bite. The Street Fighter V4 is a victim of Ducati's own brilliance. It's just too much. Too fast, too pricey, too hot, too intense. A supermodel that nobody wants to take on a date because she'll probably order caviar and criticize your posture the whole night. Number 13. Suzuki Hayabusa. Once upon a time, the Suzuki Hayabusa was a name that carried real weight. It was the fastest production bike on earth, feared and worshipped in equal measure. Back in the early 2000s, nothing screamed "Don't mess with me" louder than a Hayabusa in your rearview mirror. It had mystique, swagger. It was a street weapon wrapped in aerodynamic curves and unapologetic bulk. Fast forward to 2025, and the magic's kind of evaporated. Suzuki tried to keep the dream alive with the third generation Hayabusa released in 2021. It looked familiar, but got a slicker dash, ride-by-wire throttle, traction control, and a few creature comforts. But under all that, it was still the same old formula, big, heavy, and thirsty. And while that used to be cool, today's riders are more interested in balance, power that's usable, bikes that are nimble, and tech that actually feels new. The Busa's problem isn't just age, it's that the game has changed. Riders now want adventure bikes, super nakeds, or lightweight street fighters. They want smart tech, modular options, and something they can live with day to day. The Hayabusa? Still a two-wheeled missile. Great for drag strips and internet clout, but for commuting, carving back roads, or doing anything other than going very fast in a straight line, not so much. And it shows. Suzuki dealers are practically begging riders to take one off their hands. Prices have dropped, promotions are running non-stop, but the demand just isn't there. Even the secondhand market is soft. It's not that the Hayabusa is bad, it's just obsolete, a relic of a speed war that no one's fighting anymore. Number 12, Kawasaki Ninja 650. For years, the Ninja 650 was a rock-solid choice. Friendly enough for beginners, capable enough for weekend fun, and stylish enough not to look entry-level. It was the bike you recommended to your buddy who just got their license, or the one you kept as a fun commuter with sport bike flavor. But by 2025, that middleweight sweet spot has gone stale. The biggest issue is how little Kawasaki has evolved the bike. It still uses the same parallel twin that's been in service for over a decade, with just minor tweaks here and there. Still around 67 horsepower, still no riding modes, still no serious electronics package. Meanwhile, competitors have leveled up. The Yamaha R7 brought in a whole new level of aggression and precision. The Aprilia RS 660 raised the bar with tech and performance. Even Suzuki's newer GSX-8R feels like it's trying harder. The Ninja 650, in contrast, feels like it's on cruise control. In a category where lightweight and tech-forward matter more than ever, the Ninja comes across as outdated. And while it still looks sporty, especially with the fairings and aggressive lines, it rides more like a soft-edged sport tourer. This wouldn't be a problem if it wasn't being priced alongside bikes that offer a whole lot more. At the moment, Kawasaki dealers are swimming in unsold Ninja 650s. Some are marked down over $1,500. Others are bundled with extended warranties, accessories, or service packages, and they still struggle to move. The bike that once defined the easy entry category is now the one people pass over because they know better options exist. It's not a bad bike, it's just a bike that stayed still while the world moved on. Number 11, Zero SRF. On paper, this bike should have been a breakthrough. 110 horsepower, 140 pound-feet of torque, top speed of 124 miles per hour, and instant electric acceleration. The future of motorcycling, right? And for a moment, it was. It was sleek, quiet, loaded with tech like Bosch cornering ABS and traction control. But here's the problem. The future showed up early, and people weren't ready. The SRF costs upwards of $20,000, and that's before you start adding options like the power tank or fast charger. That's superbike money. And for that price, people expect either insane performance or long-distance usability. The SRF delivers neither. Range is decent, around 100 to 120 miles mixed use, but not nearly enough for touring or hard canyon carving. And charging times, even with the rapid charger, still demand patience. Then there's the feel. Sure, torque hits instantly, but it's too smooth. No vibration, no engine sound, no gear changes. For many riders, that visceral connection is gone. Instead of feeling like a machine you're taming, it's more like riding a very fast blender, which might sound cool once, but wears thin fast. Electric bikes still haven't hit mainstream in a big way, and the SRF suffers because of it. You'll find plenty of lightly used and even new ones being marked down by thousands. Dealers want them gone, and buyers are still too hesitant. It's not that the SRF is bad, it's just stuck in that awkward space where the world hasn't quite caught up to what it's offering. Number 10, Yamaha Bolt RSpec. The Yamaha Bolt was a hit when it first came out. Back in 2014, it was seen as a legitimate alternative to the Harley Sportster. Stripped down, V-twin power, and priced right, the Bolt RSpec looked the part and sounded good doing it. But the bike rarely changed over the years, and by the time it limped into 2020 and beyond, it was barely behind the curve. It's still running the same 942cc air-cooled V-twin with just 65 Nm of torque. No ride modes, no ABS in some variants, no fancy suspension. It's as analog as a cruiser can get, and that's fine for some people, but in a world where even bigger cruisers are getting tech upgrades and better ride refinement, the Bolt feels like a throwback that overstayed its welcome. Comfort isn't great either. The seat's low, which helps shorter riders, but the ride gets harsh over bumps. And at highway speeds, that small tank and buzzy engine don't exactly make for a relaxing experience. It looks good parked. It sounds decent, but it just doesn't offer enough to justify its price anymore, especially with newer options like the Rebel 1100 entering the game with more power and better tech. As of 2025, dealers are clearing these out with deep cuts, some slashing prices under $6,000 to make room for better selling models. Even with custom incentives and low interest financing, people are skipping over it. The Bolt had a good run, but now, it's just a relic of Yamaha's attempt to play in the bobber world, and most riders have moved on. Number 9, Yamaha VMax. Once upon a time, this bike was the ultimate showstopper. It didn't just enter the scene, it kicked down the door. Originally launched in 1985 and then given a steroid-fueled reboot in 2009, the VMax looked like something that belonged in a futuristic biker gang. Wide stance, sculpted metal, and an engine that was more muscle car than motorcycle. That monstrous 1,679cc V4 churned out 197 horsepower and an absurd 123 pound-feet of torque. It could blitz the quarter mile in under 11 seconds and send your guts to the back of your spine with just a twist of the throttle. But here's the thing, no one cares about that in 2025. Modern riders aren't chasing brute force cruisers anymore. They want bikes that can do more than just burn rubber in a straight line. And that's where the VMax falls apart. Weighing over 680 pounds wet, it's not something you want to wrestle around a corner or ride for hours on the highway. The fuel range is laughable thanks to its small 4-gallon tank. The ergonomics are aggressive and unforgiving, and in a world filled with smart dashboards, IMUs, rider modes, adaptive cruise, and cornering ABS, the VMax feels like a dinosaur stuck in an arcade machine. Even Yamaha eventually accepted the writing on the wall, quietly discontinuing the VMax and cutting off production. But that didn't solve the problem for dealers. There are still 2020 through 2022 models collecting dust on showroom floors. Some have sat so long that their tires need replacing before they've even been ridden. Discounts in the $5,000 range are common. In some places, dealers are bundling in helmets, jackets, and maintenance packages just to sweeten the deal, and still no bites. The VMAX's time came and went. It was a marvel in its day, but now, it's a museum piece disguised as a cruiser. It belongs in a collector's garage, not a dealer's lot in 2025. Number 8. Suzuki GSXR1000. If you were a sport bike fan in the 2000s, chances are the GSXR1000 was your hero. It was the leader bike benchmark for years. Light, powerful, razor sharp, and always priced a little less than its European rivals. Track day riders loved it. Weekend warriors swore by it. The Gixxer Thou had street cred and performance to back it up. But here's the brutal truth. Suzuki let it rot. As the rest of the sport bike world evolved, with advanced rider aids, integrated track telemetry, semi-active suspension, and MotoGP-inspired tech, the GSXR1000 stood still. The 2017 refresh added variable valve timing and some updates, sure, but by 2020 it was already falling behind. The dash still looked dated. The electronics package, while functional, didn't match what Ducati, Yamaha, and even BMW were offering. Riders noticed. Reviewers noticed, and more importantly, buyers noticed. Suzuki's global strategy didn't help. The brand started pulling back from major markets, slashing R&D budgets and shifting focus towards smaller bikes in emerging markets. In 2023, news broke that the GSXR1000 was being discontinued in Europe due to emissions regulations. US dealers saw the writing on the wall, and that's when inventory started piling up. Fast forward to 2025 and you've got a showroom problem. GSXR1000s from as far back as 2021 are still available brand new. In some states, you can walk in and grab a brand new unit with 0 miles for under 13 grand. That's nearly $3,000 off MSRP. And still, people are opting for R1s, Panigales, or even stepping down to 600s with better tech and lighter weight. The GSXR1000 didn't do anything wrong, per se. It just didn't do anything new. And in a category where evolution is everything, that was enough to bury it. It's a legendary nameplate, but in 2025, it's just another leftover no one wants. Number 7. Harley-Davidson Road King. You can't talk about American touring motorcycles without bringing up the Harley-Davidson Road King. It's got history, style, and road presence. It doesn't scream at you, it just rolls up, stately and confident, chrome glistening, big windshield in front, hard bags on the sides. It's a Harley for those who want to ride long distances in classic comfort without all the bells and whistles of something like the Ultra Limited. But here's the hard truth. The Road King is fading, and fast. The world of motorcycling is shifting. The old school cruiser crowd is aging out. Younger riders want lighter bikes, more tech, and less maintenance. And Harley, in trying to keep up with that trend, has shifted its marketing and product development toward new models like the Pan America and Nightster. Machines built for adventure and urban riding, not the open road in full leather. That leaves the Road King in an awkward spot. It's not sporty, it's not tech forward, it's not even particularly affordable. At over 20 grand new, buyers expect more than just retro charm and highway comfort. And while Harley has improved the Milwaukee 8 engine and added some rider aids over the years, it still feels like a bike designed for a market that's vanishing. But dealers are overstocked. Road Kings, especially leftover 2021 to 2023 models, are being offered at serious discounts. Some have slashed prices below 17 grand just to free up floor space. Others are packaging them with 0% APR and thousands in accessories. But even loyal Harley riders are hesitant. They're either trading up to full-dress tourers or downsizing to sportier cruisers. The middle ground the Road King once ruled, it's become a ghost town. It's a shame, really. The Road King deserves better, but nostalgia isn't enough to move metal, and this once proud cruiser finds itself riding off into obscurity. Number 6. Suzuki Boulevard M109R. There was a time when this bike was Suzuki's wildcard in the cruiser game, a massive drag-inspired power cruiser that brought V-twin muscle to a segment mostly dominated by Harley and Yamaha. With that massive 1,783cc liquid-cooled V-twin pumping out around 128 horsepower and thumping 118 pound-feet of torque, it was never subtle. It wasn't meant to be. The M109R was built to flex. It looked like a rolling bicep with chrome pipes, a fat rear tire, and a rumble that could rattle windows. However, it has become the definition of overkill. See, the world has changed. Riders today want a balance of power, agility, and usability. The M109R is none of those things. Weighing close to 760 pounds wet and with a ridiculously wide rear tire, it's a handful in city traffic, a chore to corner, and a nightmare to park on a slope. The clutch is heavy, the turning radius is massive, and it still rocks an analog instrument cluster that looks like it was pulled off a 2003 GSXR. But the bigger issue? Suzuki has basically ghosted the Boulevard line. There have been zero significant updates. No tech upgrades, no ergonomic tweaks, no fresh design changes. It's just been sitting in the lineup, coasting on nostalgia. And buyers noticed, because while Harley was busy revamping the Sportster line and Yamaha was doubling down on performance cruisers, the M109R just sat there. Dealers across the US are now practically begging anyone, to take them home. 2022 and even 2021 models are still languishing on showroom floors, often with markdowns as deep as $4,000 off MSRP. Some are being advertised with free gear bundles, prepaid service packages, or even extended warranties at no cost, and still they gather dust. The M109R's downfall isn't that it was a bad bike, it was a victim of stagnation. Power alone isn't enough. Riders want integration, comfort, finesse, and this beastly cruiser, it's a relic from the past trying to muscle its way into a future that's moved on. Number 5. HarleyDavidson Sportster S. If there was ever a Harley model meant to shake things up, it was this. Launched in 2021 as a radical reinvention of the classic Sportster line, the S ditched the air-cooled simplicity for the modern, high-revving 1252cc Revolution Max engine. Theoretically, it looked like Harley had finally cracked the code. 121 horsepower, a 9,500 RPM redline, fully adjustable suspension, ride modes, and a sleek digital TFT display. It was supposed to pull young riders into the fold, injecting a jolt of modernity into a brand often accused of being stuck in the past. But here's what actually happened. People kicked the tires and walked away. The problem wasn't the performance. The RevMax engine is a gem, smooth, potent, and surprisingly nimble. The issue was everything else. Ergonomics are awkward. The feet-forward controls paired with the high tail section create a riding position that feels cramped and weird for anything longer than 30 minutes. The suspension, while adjustable, is harsh. And the styling? It's bold, sure, but a lot of Harley traditionalists thought it looked more like a Ducati DFL knockoff than a real Sportster. Meanwhile, newer riders, the exact demographic Harley was chasing, were scared off by the $16,000 plus price tag. Worse yet, the Sportster S lives in a weird no man's land. It's not a true cruiser, it's not a naked street fighter, it's not built for long distance comfort. It's a niche bike in a segment that doesn't really exist, and it's priced like a premium performance machine without delivering the ride experience to match. You get high heat from the exhaust in traffic, a low fuel range, and very little practicality for everyday use. By 2025, the buzz had worn off. Dealers are now stuck with unsold units. Some locations have knocked off $2 to $3 grand, while others are throwing in parts vouchers or store credit. Harley's attempt at modern reinvention didn't flop because it was too radical, it flopped because it was confused. The Sportster S doesn't know what it wants to be, and in today's motorcycle world, clarity of purpose is everything. Number 4. Kawasaki Vulcan S. On paper, this bike checks a lot of boxes. Lightweight, affordable, starts around $7,900, easy to ride, all of the above. And with its ErgoFit system that lets you adjust foot peg position, seat, and handlebar reach, Kawasaki built it to accommodate a wide range of riders, especially those new to motorcycling. It uses the same 649cc parallel twin engine found in the Ninja 650 and Z650, which is smooth, predictable, and peppy enough for highway speeds. It's the kind of bike you could confidently recommend to a beginner. So why is it on this list? Because at the moment, the Vulcan S is the definition of meh. The market is overflowing with beginner-friendly cruisers that offer more personality, more features, and more fun. Meanwhile, the Vulcan S has changed nothing in the last 5 years. No TFT screen, no traction control, no cornering ABS, not even a styling refresh. It looks and feels exactly like it did in 2020, and while that might work for a vintage Harley, it doesn't fly in the entry-level segment where younger riders expect modern tech and sharp design. Plus, the cruiser look is fading with new riders. Most are gravitating toward nakeds, scramblers, or small displacement adventure bikes. So even though the Vulcan S was built to be accessible, it's now stranded in a style class that's slowly becoming irrelevant. It's also not much of a looker. With its radiator, stubby tail, and odd proportions, it doesn't appeal to traditional cruiser fans or modern riders chasing aesthetics. That leaves dealers stuck. 2021 to 2023 models can still be found brand new, often listed below MSRP. Some are being offered with $1,000 off or 0% financing, but they still get passed over in favor of bikes like the Honda Rebel 500, which looks better, feels more premium, and has more aftermarket support. Even riders who do test ride the Vulcan S often describe it as fine, nice, or okay, words that sell nobody on a $7,000 purchase. The Vulcan S tried to be everything to everyone, but in 2025, that middle-of-the-road approach left it nowhere at all. Number 3. KTM 1290 Super Duke GT. There was a time when this bike was the undisputed alpha of the sport touring scene. You wanted muscle? It gave you a 1,301cc LC8 V-twin that pumped out a mind-bending 175 horsepower and 103 pound-feet of torque. You wanted tech? It had semi-active WP suspension, lean angle sensitive ABS, a full-color TFT dash, cornering lights, quick shifter, cruise control, and a full suite of rider aids. And if you wanted comfort, well, this thing had heated grips, adjustable windscreen, and side cases that could carry everything from track leathers to a week's worth of road trip supplies. It was marketed as a machine that didn't compromise: speed, touring ability, and aggressive looks all wrapped in one. And for a good 3 years, the 1290 GT had its niche locked down. But 2025 changed everything. The moment KTM launched the 1390 Super Duke GT, the 1290 got kicked down the stairs. The 1390 wasn't just a minor update. It's a full-on generational leap. KTM gave it new styling with sharper bodywork, a redesigned subframe, updated electronics with more refined ride modes, improved suspension geometry, and more aggressive ergonomics. Oh, and the new engine? It delivers even more power, pushing 190 plus horsepower, making the old 1290 feel not slow, but outclassed. And in today's sport touring market, perception matters more than specs on paper. Buyers aren't just comparing horsepower numbers, they're chasing newness. They want the latest tech, the flashiest TFT display, the smoothest ride modes. And when the 1390 came out swinging, the 1290 instantly felt like it belonged in the used bike lot. Even though it's still a monster on 2 wheels, dealers can't move them, not even with aggressive price cuts. We're talking brand new 2023 models being listed for 14 grand, thousands off MSRP, and they're still collecting dust. KTM dealers are now bundling in free gear, extended warranties, and low-interest financing just to get buyers to look at these. Another issue? The Super Duke GT lives in a segment that's shrinking. Riders who want speed are buying naked bikes like the Tuono or MT10. Riders who want long-distance comfort are flocking to adventure tourers. The once clear appeal of the Hyper Tourer is now muddy, and the 1290 GT is stuck in the middle. There's no denying the performance, but right now, the KTM 1290 Super Duke GT feels like the most overbuilt bike nobody asked for. Dealers are practically giving them away, and even hardcore KTM fans are choosing to wait and stretch for the 1390 instead. Number 2. Indian Scout Bobber. There's no question that this bike made a statement when it arrived. It had the right attitude: muscular tank, chopped rear fender, slammed suspension, blacked out engine, low seat height. This was Indian's play at tapping into younger urban riders who wanted something that looked tough, rebellious, and cool. And on the surface, it worked. The Scout Bobber became a popular entry-level cruiser for those wanting Harley vibes without buying a Harley. But here's the thing with trends: they don't last forever. By 2025, the Bobber formula is officially stale, not just for Indian, but across the industry. Every major manufacturer rolled out their version of the Bobber, from Yamaha's Bolt to Harley's Iron to even Chinese and Korean startups cranking out budget-friendly copies. The market became oversaturated with the same silhouette: low seat, fat tires, matte paint, minimal suspension, and a thumpy exhaust note. And in this sea of sameness, the Scout Bobber didn't keep up. The core problems? It's a looker, but it's a rough bike to live with. The rear suspension travel is a measly 2 inches, and yes, you feel every crack in the pavement. The forward controls force you into a position that's uncomfortable on longer rides. The lack of traction control or ride modes makes it feel primitive in a market where even mid-range bikes have cornering ABS. And then there's the tiny 2.5 gallon tank, which means you're stopping for gas every 80 to 100 miles. Worse, Indians started pushing out new Scout variants that made the original bobber look like a rental special. The 101 Scout? That one has upgraded suspension, more aggressive tuning, and better ergonomics. The Super Scout? It's aimed at light touring with bags and a windshield. Even the standard Scout has been refreshed with modern touches and more tech. Meanwhile, the bobber just sat there, unchanged. Dealers who stocked up on them during the last refresh cycle are now desperate to move inventory. You'll find 2023 Scout bobbers selling for under 10 grand, down from the original MSRP of nearly 13 when outfitted with accessories. In some regions, Indian dealers are offering cash back deals, extended warranties, and even trading incentives just to clear them out. But no one's biting. The younger crowd has moved on to sportier nakeds and smaller ADV bikes, and the cruiser loyalists? They're either sticking with Harley or moving up to bigger Indians like the Chief or Challenger. The Scout bobber had a moment, but that moment is over. Now it's a heavily discounted reminder that chasing a trend without evolving leads to exactly this: showroom stagnation. Number 1. BMW K1600B. What happens when a luxury tourer lands in a world that doesn't want luxury tourers anymore? Let's take a moment to appreciate the engineering behind the BMW K1600B. This isn't just a motorcycle, it's a rolling monument to German overachievement. The centerpiece is that glorious 1649cc inline-6, one of the smoothest and most refined engines ever put in a motorcycle. It delivers 160 horsepower, 132 pound-feet of torque, and the kind of roll-on acceleration that makes other baggers feel like they're pulling a trailer. BMW built this bike to be the perfect fusion of American cruiser cool and European tech opulence. Low-slung styling, side bags molded into the bodywork, floorboards, reverse assist, adaptive headlights, dynamic ESA suspension, ride modes, a massive TFT display with Bluetooth and navigation. It had it all. And yet, it never quite found a home. Here's why. No one knew what to do with it. Cruiser fans didn't want it because it lacked the soul and character of a V-twin. Harley and Indian riders scoffed at its robotic feel and appliance personality. On the other hand, touring riders who cared about performance and comfort just went for the K1600 GTL, or increasingly for lighter and more versatile R1250 RTs or GS models. Even worse, bagger culture shifted. Riders wanted bikes that could look cool while still being relatively nimble and packed with personality. The K1600B, for all its strengths, felt like it was trying too hard to be American, while never quite letting go of its Bavarian roots. And then there's the price. Fully loaded, this bike pushes north of 27 grand, not including any dealer fees or options. And let's be real, at that price, most people are going to want resale value, dealer support, and a solid enthusiast community. The K1600B doesn't deliver on any of those. Resale values have tanked, parts and service are pricey, and the community is niche at best. As of 2025, dealers are stuck with 2023 and 2024 models they can't unload. Some have knocked 5 to 6 grand off the sticker and are still struggling to generate interest. The sad irony is that this is arguably one of the best long-distance motorcycles in the world, but nobody wants to spend luxury money on a bike with no cultural traction. It's not bad, it's not slow, it's not uncomfortable. In fact, it's probably too good, and in doing so, it became forgettable. The K1600B is the bagger no one remembers to test ride. The one buried in the back of the showroom, gleaming under showroom lights, quietly waiting for a buyer that never comes. Which other worthless motorcycle did we miss? Let us know in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell. See you in the next one.